Welcome back to the channel. This is the last of the big four. We've done TaylorMade. We've done two TaylorMades.
Right.
We've done Ping. We've done Callaway. It's Titleist to run at the driver, old versus new. Same kind of story as Ping. 2-year cycles. So they've got a really big runway ahead of them for what performance gains they can get. We are taking the GT2 and putting it head to head with the TS2. One caveat out of all of this, Titleist were doing 10.5 heads.
Right.
Back in the TS range, now we're at 10 degree in the GT range. Keep that in mind throughout the video. There's going to be some things that nudge those numbers around. So for you today, we are going to do the live test on the robot, 115 miles an hour, because the GT2 absolutely gets tour play, and we think we should show that. Zero angle of attack, zero path, zero face, heel, toe, center. Then we're going to jump back into the regular person's 100 mile an hour test, 2 degrees up, with all of the verified data by Dr. Tom Mace, and we're going to look at consistency, ball speed, dispersion charts, everything you need to know. But let's kick it off with the 100 mile an hour test. We have got the TS version in there at the moment.
Right.
115 out of the center.
Far away, Glenn.
All right, 164 ball, 3200 spin, a little fade tilt, carrying 278. Fair. Let's go 1 inch in the toe, Glennie. All right.
Started right, turning a little bit. Yeah.
Spins in a similar spot, 3 miles an hour of ball speed drop, similar launch, and 6 yards through the air out the toe. Pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No. We have seen drivers in our early testing equal the toe shot and sometimes jump the center shot on the toe.
A couple times, yeah. Depends how high up the face you are, too.
Right, yeah. Right. The high toe. They always said that was the place.
And it is.
It still is, yeah. Lucky for me, that's my natural.
Mine's toe. I don't lose the high parts on then.
Yep, so heel shot.
Far away in the heel. Oof. Heel coming back a little.
Yeah.
Not getting back to the center, though.
Spin stayed in a decent spot. 10 mile an hour ball speed drop, though.
That's a lot.
Center to heel, that is a lot, right?
Yeah. Well, the heel's a tough spot, so.
257 to 278 is
21
right? yards.
21 yards, yeah.
21 yards, center to heel shot.
That's pretty good distance.
Yeah. Okay, let's snap in the GT2, 3 models, 6 years, and see what we get. Okay, GT2 center shot, 0 path, 0 face, 0 angle of attack, 115. Okay, you ready for this one, everyone? This is some big results from a center shot. If you're swinging 115 mile an hour, we have got 165 ball speed, so a little ball speed gain, but 7 yards carry.
Yeah, it's considerably longer.
It's huge.
Sure. Yeah, 7 yards is a lot.
So, I mean, there's some absolute diehard Titleist people out there, I'm sure they're watching this video, that trade up every year. And I guess if you do it once every year or once every cycle, you're not going to see a lot.
Yeah, you don't see a lot.
But
this, 3 or 4 years, this 2 or 3 models, yeah, big difference.
Solid jump. And the spin rate on this one actually ducked under that 3,000. So we saw similar launch characteristics, higher ball speed, lower spin.
Those are good things. Yep. Higher ball speed, lower spin. You keep the launch angle the same, you're going to hit further.
Yep. So let's go to the toe. Now this is the real advances in technology that we think we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, some of the recent drivers we've seen, you see almost no drop off in the toe.
Yeah.
Now, we're going a full inch here. We were talking about 3/4 on the other one, so
yeah,
bit difference there.
I'd like a driver that didn't do that. You know, no drop off at an inch.
Yeah.
That's the one I need.
Here's a toe. It's coming back nicely, too.
274. So a little longer than the old one in the toe. And we got...
Definitely more corrective bias, too.
Yeah,
to make him roll all the way back to 0.
Yep. Good spot.
Yep.
And it's funny, the drop off from the center shot to the toe is a little more, but as the progression from the last model, it's actually still longer out the toe.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 inches across the face, 1 inch into the heel. Let's see what we got. This will be an interesting one to look at the graph, the bird's eye view of these 6 shots after.
Well, this one's only, he tore right back to the center.
Right.
Which is nice.
Top speed, good. Same ball speed. Spins a little lower still. Same launch, 260. So yeah, again, we clipped the old version
Right.
for distance, and the distance drop off just because the gains in the middle are so strong.
Right. Well, gained all the way across the face, basically.
Yeah, true. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, Glenn, let's have a look at the bird's eye. So graphing for these 6. And we've got red, green, and blue for the original. So red is that little fade bias.
Right.
Green stayed right, and the blue stayed further left. And now the new one is the yellow, purple, and teal. And look how far out that yellow one is.
Yeah, well, it's like 5 yards further.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a bit.
Big gain. 7.
And the other thing too is they're almost dead center as far as directionally.
Yeah, they tighten the group up. So center's on center,
Right.
toes back to center, and heels a little closer to center. Really, like this actually might be the best improvement we've seen in the old versus new.
As far as tightening up
Figuring
that way,
it all out, yeah.
on a single shot.
Okay, so that's for some of you superhumans out there that can move at 115 miles an hour. Totally worth it.
Yep.
Now let's jump into the 100 miles an hour test. We do this a little different. We hit up on it 2 degrees. Face and path we kept the same. Just a reminder, Titleist in the TS model were 10.5 degrees. GT is 10.2. 10 degrees. Sorry.
Right.
No line angle change.
Nope.
So we've seen that fluctuate
we
with
didn't
other
change
brands.
that,
The MOI. And Titleist's whole story this year was like bucking the trend of high MOI.
Yep.
They've dropped the heel toe MOI about 400 points from
quite a bit,
left to right. That's a lot.
Well, they also added another line too. They added the 1 series, which they didn't have there.
Right.
So they've got a little more room
Yeah.
to be able to make this a little more players club than having that be the most forgiving club they have.
That's true.
there's
Back in the
definitely-
TS line, there was no 1.
There was no 1.
Right,
yeah.
okay. And then we've got the CG moving forward, which aligns with that MOI getting lower. And we've got the gain in ball speed, 1 miles an hour at 100.
Right.
We obviously
Which is
saw
great,
that, translate that into the 115. Launch characteristic was the same, but spin dropped off. And that is a fair net result from the MOI and
Yeah,
CG.
if you can keep the launch the same and drop the spin, that's huge.
We're in
So
a
that's
great
good.
spot. And we did see even 2-yard gain at this 100 miles an hour test, and way better. And we're talking 6 or 7 yards better in the toe,
Right.
but not as good in the heel. It's actually worse in the heel this year.
Yeah. Like I said, they don't hit that spot as often as you might think, so not as big a deal. But yeah.
Well, you get the fun stuff, the graph. Let's talk about the graphing.
Yeah, well, the graphing is different, right? So the GT2 is longer, right? I mean, it's just longer all around versus the TS2. Right to left, they're pretty similar.
Yep.
The only difference is opposite the heel because you've gained more in the toe and the center on the new one.
Yep.
Your heel didn't move much. So it looks a little further, front to back is a wider range, but, 2 of them were longer and one of them is basically the same.
And we saw this with the Callaway story. Pretty much exactly the same. Callaway picked up in the center, picked up in the toe, the heel remained the same, and we kind of see the ellipse stretch a little bit. But again, this is a story of like, is this a better driver? I mean, there's some characteristics that absolutely state yes. If you're hitting in the heel, probably not worth changing. But if you're hitting in the toe, big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing we're looking at too is, this is just a heel-toe center, and it's an inch one side. When we get into later in the summer and we catch up on our full-blown testing at 14 points and so, you'll see some other things in there that, because I know for a fact, this driver did okay as when we first started doing robot testing. It wasn't great. The TSI, which is the first of the TS version, which is now GT, was probably the best driver of the year. All around, it was the best driver. So huge jump they made from that year to this year. Since then they've gone through obviously the this number 2 and then obviously now the GT.
Yeah.
So they've improved again twice more on top. So definitely. And there's other things too. I mean, I gotta tell you, the new one looks way better than this.
Yeah, and considering you're not changing like a whole ton of like launch and spin characteristic, they've made the shape a lot more visually clean.
I mean, this to me is not great looking. I mean, I don't like the chevron. It looks huge. It looks a little too through the heel. That's a visual thing. I don't like the fact that the outside here looks bigger. It's kind of a big pair, but it's deep.
Yeah.
It's just done a lot of improvements on the look of it. Even the bottom looks better.
Titleist are tour inspired, so that's just tour player feedback. Just keep banging the drum and they get
to be honest,
this.
I didn't play a Titleist driver for probably 10, 15 years in the TSI, and the last couple of ones have been great.
Yeah.
So they've definitely done a lot to improve their club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a story again. You're going to get distance gains no matter what. From transferring from a TS to a GT. Dial it in with a proper club fitting. Titleist's got a bunch of hosel settings.
Right.
You got the weight setting in the back and the front. totally a dial-it-in story, as is every driver. You can do that at CoolClubs by booking your tour experience fitting. We're going to treat you like a tour player. You get the option to hit indoors or outdoors. Thanks for watching.
See ya.